On the line with us this morning, Philip Martell. He is the superintendent of the Blairsville-Saltsburg School District. I told you, Phil, I would open with this line. I'm guessing recess isn't outside today, is it?
Not today. It just shows that cold weather sometimes always just creeps back this time of year. So hopefully this is the last piece of it, but not today.
Last hurrah for the snow. That would be nice. Our conversation brought to you by Marcus & Mack, a law firm representing injured people. We are into the final quarter of the school year. I don't know if it's gone fast for you. It has for me, but this school year has had its share of challenges and a little bit more, hasn't it?
It has, obviously. As you know, every time it just seems like we get closer and closer to overcoming, this pandemic. It just seems like and when I talked to the staff this morning on our in-service day, it just seems to, and thank them because with their diligence and their continued efforts, because it just seems to rear its head back as we see, obviously, with a variant coming and then other countries going back into shutdown. So you just got to keep your fingers crossed that, we could keep the path and just, and people still practice the mitigation effort, the efforts and everything, and just hopefully keep this thing at bay.
Indiana County still listed as in the moderate category, and certainly that's helpful, but we'd like to see it open up even more. And we're hearing good news about the vaccine and the possibility that students will soon be able to get it as well. Are the faculty members, did they take advantage of the opportunity to get the vaccine for the most part?
They did. They have to say that a lot of them had taken the initiative on their own before we even had the vaccination clinic here in the county. And then with the number of people that were left, it was moved last week on Sunday to Clarion County, and I think the remaining members of staff, the contractors like your bus drivers and different things, all want to get it. But obviously, with pharmacies making it available to groups in 1A, there's just so many opportunities, beside the Johnson & Johnson, maybe look at the other two. So I do believe that, but I do think it's crucial now because, with the increase in cases now, it's obviously with younger people. And it is concerning that now we've been so diligent that the governor's going to open the state back up after this and on all the bars and things. And I get that because it's killing small business, but I just don't know if this is the right time when we know that we see the uptick.
Yeah. One of the good things about it is hospitalizations are not increasing at the rate that the actual infection is. So that's good news. And in the meantime, you are concerned with finishing out this school year and doing so well. And I'm sure folks are very, very excited about the spring season coming along and all that it has to offer. And so we got an update from you about early planning for things like prom and graduation. So maybe it's time to get an update again. What's it look like right now?
We're moving forward. Our board has been very supportive in working with me because we like I said, we talked before, Todd, we have to try to have that return to a sense of normalcy as much as possible. This has had a mental strain. I mean, we know a mental effect on our students. We know that, and we'll know more as years to come as we see some of the studies in that. But being able to get that some type of semblance of bringing back to normal with the prom and obviously with spring sports and activities, the musical, it's helping. It really is. It's kind of started to uplift the spirits of our students and our staff. So we've been moving forward just to be able to do those things that we can. While others, other districts I know are still fighting challenges with that. But we've worked very cohesively with the staff and board to try to get this done for our kids.
That's terrific news. Okay, so as we think about that, we also know that there are other issues within the Blairsville-Saltsburg School District, the public comment period, then the cooling off period for the plans for within the district. When does that cooling off period end?
Hard date, I believe, is right around April 15th.
All right, so it's just a couple of weeks away, and then there's much, much more work to do within the school district, and the board, of course, has to do the majority of that work. Are you hearing things from the board, and certainly I'm sure you're hearing from the public as well, about possibilities for what Blairsville-Saltsburg will look like in the next 6 months, a year, 2 years?
Yeah, I mean, it's a very, obviously, and you know this better than I do, it's a very passionate issue. It's been passionate, but one of the things that I set out to do was to try to change that, regardless of what direction that the board chooses we go, is to have a plan either way. But in that process, I mean, there's still that with that cooling off period and that, like, until you get that final decision, yes or no, it's very difficult. I would say you're kind of caught in between because you're having that cooling off period, but you also still have to try to plan as much as possible. So I'm looking forward to it regardless of the direction, but I do believe if they do choose to go down that path, that we have a very solid plan for the use of the building, but also it keeps the community involved, and the building will be used more than ever than what it is now capacity-wise, which will help the small business in town and help people looking to locate, but it also play an important role on workforce development, which we know today how businesses and institutions are struggling to find employment, and it's just the debate really needs to be focused on that, not really in a sense on like the minimum wage, because it's just common sense. If we can't find people for $12 an hour, what makes us think we're going to be able to find them for 15? But at the same time, we'd be penalizing small business. So I really think with this workforce development initiative that it does it's the first time they could bring government, it can bring unions, and it can bring business together because they all have the same goals. So I mean, I think it's something that everybody can kind of get behind.
And whatever that school board decision is, you still have to move forward with the plans for the next academic year, and those plans include budgeting. A part of that budget process now is going to be increases in funding with millions of dollars coming to Indiana County in school district money, and the official announcement is supposed to come, I believe, on Monday of what each school district will be getting from this federal COVID-19 package. I'm sure you're looking forward to the funds, but there's still a lot of information you have to gather about how to use it, correct?
Yes, I mean, they've gotten, as we each set of funding periods, like with the emergency services, they call the ESSER grants, they become a little bit more diligent on saying, okay, so like in this new wave of funding, you're 20% set aside for loss of learning to be able to try to provide those remediation, those tools that are needed for the students that have been hit the most and hurt the most from the digital learning experience. But, we cautiously will allocate our funds within the guidelines, but what you have to do is these monies are clearly identified for one or two time uses. I mean, you cannot use them to supplement your budget, or basically in year three, you have a hole in your budget. So we're targeting initiatives and programs that really will help those in one or two time needs, or upgrade the facilities if we need to from an air quality and a safety issue, which are identified there. But just being, it's nice to get the money, but it's also you have to follow the guidelines because, like I said, if you don't, and you start supplanting items in your normal every day-to-day budget, you're going to have a problem in a couple of years.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Do you see it helping you to design new programs with the idea that you're still going to have to sustain them in the future with other sources?
It does, because really I think, if anything, what this has taught us, and this has been where the Department of Education has been a little silent, and us as superintendents and educational leaders, the online digital learning is here to stay. So we have to have the ability to be able to provide, regardless of what happens with the legislation, if they change it and say you have to come to use your own district's cyber school, we have to be able to provide that option, because some kids are not going to return. And we would be fools to think that that's the case. So in order for us to stop them from going to outside cyber charter, we have to be able to have a platform and a program that meets their needs. And so when you're looking at utilizing these funds, those are good ways to do that, because you have to it's a lot of upfront costs in a lot of ways, and then you have to be able to budget accordingly to maintain it. But if you can't do it, you have the problem, and then that money walks out the door to a private charter cyber, and that's where the districts really get in trouble. And the Professional Business Managers Association about a week ago published a report. I think there was a huge uptick in outside charter cyber placements, somewhere around 50% increase from last year.
Purchase Line is they're implementing their own charter school. Some other districts in Indiana County already have them. So is that something you see coming pretty quickly to Blairsville-Saltsburg?
We are. Today is actually an Act 80 day, and we're working with a new learning management system called Canvas, but it will house everything we do from a on-site learning to remote learning. And this is in conjunction to start next year. So we are well underway with this planning, because I said, as I see this, I've seen it years ago, there's just this element of digital learning that's here, but it also allows us to move towards away from that traditional classroom model and more to a project-based learning model, where students really, it not only includes classwork, but it includes apprenticeships, internships, different things focusing on their career path, online learning in a portion. That's where public education needs to go to survive, because it's where a lot of private schools and charter schools have gone already, because they have less limitations that sometimes we have to face. But I think that's really where we're going to need guidance from the Department of Education, because if they come back and say it's an all or nothing, we're going to lose those kids to outside placements, which is going to bankrupt a lot of school districts.
Yeah, and there's a reason for that. I think people probably would be shocked to know that it is the home school district that ends up paying for the charter schools when their students go.
Correct, and that's why we have to. Hopefully, seems like there's been some movement on the Republican side for support to have, where kids would have to go to their home cyber school first, if you're going to kind of be every school district, if that does pass, they're going to have their own cyber program, which is going to take money, which is a good use of one-time or second-time use for these funds, because it's something to help you get started.
Yeah, you're right about that. Okay, so we're moving forward. The spring sports season's got underway. I'm not guessing anybody's playing baseball or softball today, and if you have a track meet, you're wearing the long pants, right?
Yeah, absolutely. You're bundling up for sure. It's football weather.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Skiing weather from what we're seeing out there right now. Don't have a ski team at Blairsville-Saltsburg, but if you had one, today would be their day. Philip Martell, Superintendent, Blairsville-Saltsburg School District. Hey, thanks for spending some time with us. Anything else folks need to know in terms of things that are coming up, meetings or anything that they could latch on to?
No, I think April will be an exciting month, obviously. I mean, the board will make a decision one way or the other, and just some other initiatives will also on a regular agenda we'll be moving forward with. And I'm glad to talk to you again in the future after that's done, because you've been so gracious to have me on. And a lot of people do listen to the show, and they tell me that, and it's just important. I think this is an important avenue for us to be able to communicate what we're doing to the public, so I do appreciate that.
All right. Well, as I wrote you earlier this morning, next month's the May visit will be the last one of the regularly scheduled one, but you and anybody else from any school district in Indiana County just need to get in touch with me if you want to come back on over the course of the summer, and we'll fix it up. Thanks so much for being with us this morning.
Thank you.
Have a great day.
You too.
It is the voice of Indiana County, WCCS 101.1 FM and AM 1160